Hi, our names are Levin and Jana, and we're climate justice ambassadors of Plant for the Planet. I think let's start. Plant for the Planet. Plant for the Planet is a worldwide climate organization, and on this map you can see we're really everywhere. At the beginning, we thought we have to save the polar bears because when the Arctic smells, there's no place for them to live. But then we saw, when the Arctic melts, there's no, the water level became 7 meters higher. And that is a big problem for the humans. For example, in Bangladesh, the floods are getting worse, or in other areas, for example, in China, the droughts are getting worse. Our big inspiration was Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai was a Peace Nobel Prize laureate from Kenya because she planted in 30 years, only with women, 30 million trees. So in 1 year, 1 million trees. We found this so great that we began to plant trees too. Here's a picture from our first planted tree, 2007. Here's our founder, Felix. Wangari Maathai's goal were the 1 billion trees of the whole world. And after her death, we decided to keep going with her project, the 1 billion tree campaign. But after a few years, we reached this goal. So we asked us what is our new goal? That made two questions. How many trees are on the world? And for how many is place enough? We looked in the internet, but we saw there's no answer to our question. So we decided to answer the question by own, with a scientist with the name Tom. With him, we found out there's 3 trillion trees on the whole world. That's very much, and room enough for 1 trillion trees. So the 1 trillion tree campaign was born. And to reach this goal, we need climate justice ambassadors. They come, and will come. We are 88,000 climate justice ambassadors now. That was my part. I know it was very short. Now it's Jana. Thanks for listening.
So until now, 1,400 academies in 74 countries of the world already took place. And we are proud to be a part of such a huge world family. And Levin and me, we are 2 of these 88,000 climate justice ambassadors all over the world. And my name is Jana, as already mentioned. I'm 14 years old and I'm from Western Germany. Now I would like to show you something that might open your eyes, or that opened my eyes when I saw it the first time. Here you see a world map, and as we all know it, the larger a country is, the larger the area on the world is, the larger it is on the map. But we can have a look at the world a little bit differently too. So here you see the world by global population. And here on this map, for example, India is very big, and North America and Europe are quite small, because in America and Europe, only 10% of the world's population live there. And here is a map of people living with less than $2 a day. And it is nearly impossible to see the USA and Europe anymore, which means that, for example, the people in India and in Africa are very poor. If we take a look at the world in terms of CO2 emissions, we see that Africa is almost impossible to see. And many people live here, but they produce very, very less CO2. which means that we as Europeans or, for example, North Americans, we produce so much CO2, but we are really little people. So we ourselves are part of the problem. But who is responsible for the CO2 release? A North American, for example, produces 16 tons a year of CO2. A European and a Chinese produce each 8 tons per year, and an African only produces 1 ton. But we have to keep in mind that the population in Africa grows really fast, and there will be really more people in Africa in the next years. So we have to make sure that it becomes possible to achieve prosperity without producing more CO2, which is a really hard challenge, but I know it is possible. As you can see, CO2 is a big problem, and with trees, we can fight this problem. Trees store the carbon we all produce and give us time to find solutions to tackle the climate crisis. And we at Plan for the Planet make sure that everyone knows about the importance of trees. And here you can see a slide which shows the CO2 clock from the Mercator Research Institute. And it shows how little time we have to reduce our CO2 emissions. And if we don't reduce our CO2 emissions today, our CO2 budget will be enthusiastic in 24 years if we want to avoid a global warming of more than 2 degrees plus, which is very little time. And on the bottom of this world, you see the budget we still have left in tons. And by the way, if we only want the world to warm up by 2 degrees, we only have 7 years left, which is very little time. Here you see a diagram of the global warming. And the red line shows that if we continue as we do today, so if we produce so much CO2 as we do today, there will be a global warming of 6 degrees, which would be a total disaster. But luckily, there are some politicians who already understood that we need to act now to tackle the climate crisis. And so there is a climate conference every year by the UN. And in 2015, there was a Paris Agreement. Unfortunately, things are moving very slowly because not all countries work together to tackle the climate crisis, but there was a Paris Agreement. And if all countries of the world stick together and follow these rules of the Paris Agreement, unfortunately, that they don't do currently, but if they did, there would be still a global warming of plus 4 degrees. And this is, better than 6 degrees, but it is still much too lot. And to prevent a real catastrophe, 4 degrees is not enough. So we must keep the plus 2 degrees limit. And this 2 degrees limit is marked in the green line, and plus 2 degrees is also the absolute limit the scientists have set and the politicians have set on the climate conference 2015 in Paris. So the question is, what can we do? And there are various solutions for the climate crisis. The best is to do all 3 at the same time, but so let's take a look at them. First, avoid CO2. But unfortunately, this is not possible, so let's take a look at solution 2. Solution 2 is reduce CO2. We have to encourage everyone, especially large companies, to emit as less CO2 as possible. And solution 3, bind CO2. Because the CO2 that cannot be avoided has to be extracted from the atmosphere and then be bound. And the easiest way to extract CO2 from the atmosphere is planting trees, because these trees, as already mentioned, absorb the CO2 from the atmosphere. And this is what we as Plan for the Planet do. Here you see a picture of our planting area in Mexico, because we as Plan for the Planet don't only talk about planting trees, but we plant trees ourselves on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. And since 2015, we've already planted over 5.1 million trees there. And we are often asked, why don't we plant trees in Germany or otherwhere in Europe, for example, but in Mexico? And there are three main reasons for it. First, Mexico is in a different climate zone. One slide back, please. Mexico is in a different climate zone, and the trees there grow much faster than they would in our country. And therefore, they absorb the CO2 much quickly. Two, there is much more space in Mexico, and it's easier to just purchase land and plant trees there than it would be here in Germany. And number three, with our planting projects, we create a lot of jobs, and we help the local population because we employ more than 100 people there on our planting area. So they have a good income, and we support the region. We plant 8 different tree species. All of them are native, which is very important to us. And we, for example, planted trumpet tree. On the pic, you see that the seeds are being sorted by our employees, and it's very important for us that they are all high quality. And on this picture, you see our tree nursery. All trees are planted by hand to have the highest quality possible. And our goal is to make as many seeds survive and grow as possible. The employees care for the seedlings, and in the area, a survival rate of only less than 30% is common. But we, on our planting area, made it to achieve a survival rate of 94%, which is extremely high. And the key for that is the tree nursery. Because in this €1, the tree maintenance is included. And the seedlings stay in these planter boxes that you saw on the last slide until they are strong enough to be planted. And in the region, the survival rate was less than 30%, but included in this €1, there's the tree maintenance. And so we have a survival rate of 94%. Here you see a picture of the trees after 2 years. And after 2 years, they are already over 4 meters high because they grow so fast in Mexico. We do our best to plant as many trees as possible, and we will plant 100 million trees by 2030. But of course, our planting project cannot plant enough trees against global warming alone. So only 10,000 projects like ours are needed to reach our goal of planting 1 trillion trees. And I know first 10,000 projects, this sounds like such a huge number, but if you think about how many people are living on this world, and if you know that we have still space for 1 trillion more trees, I know that this is possible. And there are already many other planting projects. So that's why one of our ambassadors had the idea of bringing all these projects together in one app. And that is why we created the Plan for the Planet planting platform. On our homepage and in our app, you can view the individual planting projects, so not only ours on the Yucatan Peninsula, but many others too. And you can donate to your favorite planting projects. So excuses like, I don't have a garden or I don't know how to do that don't count anymore. Yes. And this app cannot only with this app, you cannot only donate trees, but you also have your own tree counter as a private person, as an organization, or as a company, whoever registers. And for example, here you see Paulina's tree counter, and her target is 1,500 trees, and she's already planted 204 of them. And if you plant trees at home, you can register them and upload photos of your tree. And then this is also added to your tree counter. And what is really cool, you can gift trees as a present to your relatives, for example. And at the end of the month, there's Christmas. So if you're still thinking about a Christmas present, this might be a good idea. Another great gift is the Change chocolate, because we designed our own product. And this chocolate is extremely delicious. My favorite chocolate and the favorite chocolate of many others I know. But it's not only great because it's so delicious, but it is great because we plant a tree for every 5 bars sold. And over 5 million trees have already been donated by the chocolate. Of course, it's fairly traded and climate neutral. Sadly, we only have the chocolate in Germany and Austria at the moment. I would like to conclude our presentation with a simple question for you. Have you ever asked yourself who actually emits a lot of CO2? Is it us children and adults, so individuals? No, it's not. It is mainly companies that emit a lot of CO2. So we also believe that companies must take the responsibility for their CO2 emissions. And they should take a look at where they can reduce their emissions, and wherever CO2 cannot be avoided, we want them to plant trees for it. And trees will then store the CO2 they emit. And trees give us a time joker, because as we've already seen, time is very little and we need this time joker. At this conference, you are here as a representative for your company. You all work in a sector of independent power supply, which generally is great. Still, all of your companies emit CO2. And it is my and Levin's greatest wish that you plant trees, for the CO2 you still emit. With your help, we can achieve the goal of planting 1 trillion trees. So now it's your turn. Download the Plant for the Planet app and plant trees yourself. It has never been easier. And please talk to your executive management and make them plant trees for your company. We need your help to save our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your inspiring words. So, dear audience, if you are interested to get in touch with Jana or with Levin, if you want to support this initiative, you can contact the Off-Grid project team. We will provide you with the contacts, and it would be really nice if we support this initiative. And I mean, they are young people. Almost children, and they are so active. So therefore, many thanks again. Thank you for being with us. And yes, I wish you all the best for the future. So for your engagement. Take care.
Yeah, thank you for giving us a chance to be here today. Thank you.
Bye-bye.